Revenue and Taxation and Procurement, the Guam Legislature, Senator Sabina Perez, and bringing her on to talk about this hearing that happened yesterday with this bill, Bree.
Yes, it was Bill 368. It was authored by Speaker Tina Mooney Barnes and co-authored by Senator Jose Pito Chalahi. And it deals with this cigarette tax stamps and requiring the Department of Revenue and Taxation to issue an RFP for the enforcement of tobacco taxes as identified by the Rev Tax Director on behalf of the government of Guam. And so there was a public hearing yesterday. It was chaired by Senator Joseph Augustine. I would have thought if it dealt with the Department of Revenue and Taxation that it would have been under Senator Sabina's committee.
Right.
Because I want to say she has oversight over.
Yeah, I checked the website right before the interview, Senator, and yeah, it does. I don't know if that's a typo, but it says that you're the oversight chair of the of Rev Tax. So we're just wondering why wasn't the bill heard with your committee?
Good morning, Chris and Sabrina. Yes, yeah, I am the oversight chair for Department of Revenue and Taxation. That's correct. It's not a typo.
Okay.
And yes, I agree. This bill should have been, sent to my committee for review. And and considering some of the conversation could have been avoided yesterday because they would have known that a lot of the work has been done, or at least in regards to reaching out to revenue and taxation, and perhaps the bill could have been vetted a little bit more. And as you saw yesterday, Department of Revenue and Taxation came out opposing the bill.
Right.
And they did try to reach out to the author, the speaker, and they were unable to resolve some of the critical issues with the bill.
Very critical. And Senator, we actually have Rev Tax Deputy Michelle Santos' testimony, which we're going to cut in and play this, and then we'll bring it back to you and discuss further. So here it is.
Department takes the position of opposing this proposed legislation. We submit the following concerns. In October of 2019, we submitted a letter identifying critical items that needed to be addressed in order to move forward. These items were never addressed nor discussed with us. The department takes the position of opposing this proposed legislation. We submit the following concerns. In October of 2019, we submitted a letter identifying critical items that needed to be addressed in order to move forward. These items were never addressed nor discussed with us. There were a few attempts to meet, but never materialized. Our department would like these items discussed. DRT never implemented the cigarette stamp tax because it was an unfunded mandate, and we needed clarification from the Attorney General that it was not a double taxation. This bill dictates that the RFP include drafting of any rules and regs when the rules and regs are already provided in the bill. A vendor should not be providing rules and regs for enforcement and administration of a tax for the government of Guam. Payment to the potential offerer is exorbitant. We estimate this to be $3 to $4 million a year. This amount is monies that is diverted away from the Healthy Futures Funds that affects the following agencies: DOE, GMH, Public Health, Guam Behavioral Wellness, DISIT, DYA, and Guam Autism. DRT was not afforded any input with the rules and regs in this bill, and it would seem that we have more work to do with respect to the enforcement and administration. Mm-hmm. We offer to work with the Attorney General to develop an RFP. At the very minimum, we would like to have a vendor or an offerer to sell stamps, provide equipment, and train wholesalers to use the equipment. At the very least, DRT is willing to do what it can to not pay the exorbitant.
Correctly, that the Department of Revenue and Taxation didn't have input in terms of the rules and regulations that were included in this bill?
Yes, that's correct, as you heard in the testimony provided by Deputy Director Michelle Santos. That is correct.
And
as you, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Basically the issue here is it could be inorganic, to have somebody who's not delegated by the governor, because that is under the governor's authority, is to administer and enforce taxes for the government.
Right.
So that's one of the critical issues.
I mean, it sounded
Right.
like Rev Tax had a few critical issues with this bill.
So we're going to pay a private vendor to do Rev Tax's job.
And I think the other conflict of interest here too, yes, that is correct. And another conflict of interest is you have the RFP would allow for the vendor to create additional rules and regs that's already listed in this bill. And in addition to administering and enforcing those rules and regs. So it has already a conflict of interest built into this piece of legislation or this bill. So.
Wow.
And so I want to say it was the deputy director who did say that if DRT was to do this, to implement this, it would cost an estimated $400,000 because they would hire people and beef up, their enforcement branch, as opposed to paying a vendor anywhere between $3 to $4 million.
Even $5 million is what I heard in the hearing.
Is
Yes.
that correct?
So yeah, the way the bill. Yeah. So as you heard in some of the testimony yesterday, and this is what the stance the agency has taken, that they can do it in-house. And this is something that I've been trying to work with them on in trying to get this implemented, from suggesting or recommending that they put together a supplemental budget. And this was in 2019 when we had excess funds, right? When we had funds available. We did not receive a supplemental budget to carry this out, unfortunately, at the time. And, of course, we have budgetary constraints now. But there was opportunities to address the unfunded mandate by, requesting for more money to implement this. But it's good to see that, after the talks yesterday, that they are committed. They feel that they can get the job done cheaper. And I think I believe the cost that was estimated was $200,000 to $300,000 if it's done publicly, just by hiring more compliance officers, but I think even before going into that, versus the privatized model, which is about up to $4.9 million. And so, yeah, definitely you see the cost. It's more cost effective. It's done in house.
Right, but I want to say that the impetus behind this bill, its introduction, was because the speaker was mentioning that there has been this leakage of revenue that they haven't been able to capture, and it was based on an OPA report. I think like 10 to 15 million. Is that correct?
Yes. So, yeah, and the testimony given by Wesco yesterday, they estimated, according to their testimony, they estimated that they pay about 80% of the tobacco taxes, and they represent 50% of the market share. And so if you do the quick calculation, that can go up to about $19 million. But they conservatively estimated at 15 million. So yeah, we are leaking that amount of money, about $15 million a year, that goes towards these critical agencies, the health agencies, Department of Public Health, GMH, Law and Behavioral Health, DOE. So yes, and this is something that I prioritized in my term in the very beginning, to try to close up these leaks. So we are working on rules and regs for the bonded warehouse. And we realize how, it's very complicated, and you really need to hire the expertise to do that. And to have it written up in a bill like this, and without the DRT's, any kind of input, that is not, a recipe.
There's
It's a
a
recipe.
lot of red flags with this, Senator. I mean, it seems like it's tailor-made to benefit somebody's connect, whether it's the speaker or whoever's connect. It just seems like it's tailor-made to create a business for people who are politically connected. I mean, when you read the bill, it's obvious that the vendor is going to have way too much control. And then there's other issues that I think a former director, Arda Logan, had brought on about ethical concerns, right? So government employees are bound by a code of ethics, not so in the private sector.
Yes, yeah, that was he raised some really good points that, government employees could be executed criminally for taking, gifts for conflict of interest. And, private employees are not held to that same standard. And so that's, I guess that's one of the issues when you're privatizing the taxation of something that's, bringing in the money, the needed money for these agencies at such a critical time. You don't want to mess with something like that.
And we do actually have a clip from Arda Logan. He is the former director of the Department of Revenue and Taxation, and he actually served as director for 8 years, but had been at the Department of Revenue and Taxation for at least 4 decades.
368-35 for the following reasons. 368-35 for the following reasons. Director Daphne Sumisu, Deputy Michelle Santos, Paul Pablo, Craig Macho are doing an exceptional job with monitoring the bonded warehouse. The collection of the Healthy Futures Fund is already projected to be approximately $41 million. The port of entries are monitored by the Customs and Quarantine Agency for contraband. The third is the administration of taxes is solely the responsibility of the government of Guam. The fourth is the cost to implement this law is ridiculously high, $5 million, that 12% of $41 million. Just hire 5 employees, compliance officers to augment ABC branch at a cost of about $200,000 to $300,000. The Government Code of Guam, the Code of Ethics, only applies to government employees and not the private sector employees. For a victim who was, or not a victim, but a violator of the law, except through the court system. I kind of disagree with implementing this law until we can fairly say that these vendors or wholesalers are I know they're paying their taxes. I know it's of each cigarette. It's other things that are concerns the collection of taxes. I will submit my testimony to the legislature.
Arda Logan testifying in opposition of Bill 368.
And we do have a clip from Speaker Tina William Barnes, but before we get to that, Senator, I kind of wanted to go back to this bill not being heard in your committee. I mean, obviously, it's Rev Tax. So what can you say about, I mean, were they just messing with the rules that somehow it didn't land in your committee? Because I take from your comments that you would have given this bill a little more of a harder time than it got yesterday in that hearing. It was very friendly.
Yeah, so the referral of bills is the responsibility of the Committee on Rules.
Right.
And so that's, I don't know, I don't, without having a conversation with the chair, I don't know the reasoning behind it. But to me, it makes sense to have gone to me because I not only oversee revenue and taxation, but also procurement. And this bill has both of them.
Right.
So, yeah, there is definitely issues with procurement as well. There was the question by Senator Terlahi about, when an IFB been better than an RFP? An IFB can ensure the lowest cost and make sure we have the best, lowest cost for our government. So that's one of the questions. And the other thing that was pretty apparent to me, and that I've been trying to work with the agency, is getting more trained professionals within DRT for procurement, because right now they have, I believe, only one individual that is capable of completing an RFP when you need a panel of 3 members to carry this out.
Right. I think I heard Michelle Michelle say she received the training for procurement, right? And then Daphne is actually going through training.
Right.
Yeah, working through it. Right.
I mean,
so, there's a lot of issues.
Yeah. I think it's kind of obvious that they're finagling the rules to keep these bills that, have these special interests pushing them from hitting the committees where they're going to get a hard time. I mean, with this Wesco guy, they gave this guy so much room to talk and say so much. I thought he was like an expert or something. I had to go and look like, oh, what? Oh, no. It was pretty interesting. So who's getting $5 million if this thing passes, Senator? That's what I really want to know. Which of the politically connected people close to the speaker and whoever else is slated to win this? Because it's obvious there's forces pushing it. They're trying to jam it through so that somebody can get $5 million when we can to collect what 15 million when we can spend 200,000 to do the same thing. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, that's my fear, is that, you know, they might be pushing this bill through to get voted on despite all the problems. And yeah, so I think that, you know, we need people, the public to call in and say that, you know, they're against this bill. It's not going to serve the best interest of the public. So yeah, there's always that fear that it's going to be pushed through.
Let's go ahead and run the speaker's clip because that was brought up that, you know, there may be people may be accusing me of introducing special interest legislation.
Right. Okay, here we go.
First, I, the original owner of this bill, is Senator Stanicklis. First, I, the original owner of this bill, is Senator Stanicklis. Second, I am the oversight chair of the Public Auditor, Office of Public Accountability. They said that $10 to $15 million are escaping our revenues. I, as the oversight, want to be responsible enough to give our government entities money that is due to them. And I want to make sure, Mr. Chair, that if there is a way that we need to work with our government agency to provide them the necessary tools, whether it be through a public-private partnership, whether it through be disbanding the bonded warehouse and giving it all to Rev Tax, realizing that they said they don't have the manpower or the facility to build. How can we proactively and positively get these resources that are escaping Guam? So I want to close on that, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair. I had another 2 paragraphs to mention, but I just think it's important to saying that I have no vested interest but the interest of getting what is due to the government of Guam and giving the Department of Revenue and Taxation all the funding it needs and the Healthy Future funds to move this program, because health and the welfare of our island is important, and making sure that GMH, public health, and cancer care get those resources. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Never mind. I just hear like Charlie Brown. I mean, come on. So her reasoning is that because she's oversight of public audit of the public auditor, and the public auditor said something about this, that it means it goes in her committee. But it's Rev Tax and procurement, and so it's
No, it went to Senator Joe San Augustine's committee. She was referencing that OPA. I have oversight over OPA.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I introduced this bill. But, you know, can you tell us why it has not been implemented in X amount of years? Right? This was Public Law 3455. I see this here.
Sorry, was that
This
a
tax,
question?
this tax stamp program. It was actually enacted in law in the 34th Guam legislature. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I think it was passed in 2018. Yeah, so right before the 35th Guam legislature came into being.
Okay, I thought it was supposed to be implemented in 2018, and we hadn't seen it implemented since then.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. And I believe Department of Revenue and Taxation, they did visit Hawaii to figure out how they do it over there. It just wasn't a follow through on our part. And I think too, the rules and regs need to be developed. I mean, that's the key. You know, I think it would be fraught with problems if we move forward without the rules and regs. And we saw that with the recycling revolving fund, but you know, where there was a lot of abuse of the fund without the rules and regs. So that is, I think, the prerequisite to getting this off the ground. And the other thing is the AG's opinion, right? There was a question as to whether it was a double taxation to have tobacco taxes and the stamp tax. And so what we heard yesterday from Deputy Director Michelle was that it's one and the same, right? But then there's also this issue where there's a 0.4% discount on the stamps. So does that mean we're going to have a reduction in our Healthy Futures Fund? So that also needs to be addressed too, is the discount with the original bill.
Yeah, it's with this is Senator St. Nicholas's bill, right? Former Senator St. Nicholas.
St. Nicholas, yes, that's
Right,
correct.
yeah. So it's another one of his half-ass ideas where they shoot out a bill. And I mean, it's clear, right? Wesco is owned by Senator Mary Torres' brother, and Senator St. Nicholas is his brother is married to Senator Mary Torres something. And so that's why he went to bat for this bill, because it favored Wesco. And we're seeing the same thing now. We had Senator Torres in. Wesco was given free reign to say whatever they wanted. And it just stinks. It really stinks. It's corruption. It's just another way for these people to get millions of dollars to their politically connected people in the midst of a freaking pandemic. And now we're willing to shortchange the Healthy Futures Fund and give some political insider $5 million when we can easily get Rev Tax to do the same thing by hiring a few people. I mean, really.
Oh,
You know, I agree with the public model, but yeah, we really needed to light the fire under Rev Tax to, to come up with a plan of action. And, that's something that, it seems like they said, at least in the testimony given yesterday, that they are, they're definitely they're motivated to be able to do this, to keep it in-house. And so I will be, keeping tabs on that to ensure that there is progress in this as oversight chair of DRT, because, I agree that, this is money that's is definitely needed to help shore up our health agencies and frontliners during this time, this very critical time.
So what's next, Senator? Are we going to see an emergency? Are we going to see the speaker pull one of these emergency sessions out of her hat, where they're just going to ram this bill through with the whatever 8 out-of-loop senators will vote for it? Is that what you're tracking?
Well, I hope not. And I just I can't predict the future, obviously, but I just I hope that the message was taken, and they're not going to push this through.
okay. Any final comments, Senator?
No, thank you for this opportunity to share what we need to take care of as far as basically highlighting this issue. I think that was very key. And, I think, it's important that we continue to improve our agencies, to be able to become more functional and better serve our people. And I think that, it's important that we work in the interest of the public and protect that interest.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Keep us
Take care.
posted. Okay.
And if